Welcome to Golden Haven, where every bedtime story becomes a peaceful dream. The garden where forgotten dreams bloom. The sleeping garden. The lighthouse stood quietly beneath the sky, filled with countless stars. Its golden light swept gently across the peaceful sea, just as it had every evening before. Captain Rowan carefully polished the great crystal lens while Mira stood beside the open window, listening to the gentle rhythm of the waves. The sea whispered softly, not a warning, not a mystery, but an invitation. Mira smiled. The ocean sounds different tonight. Captain Rowan paused for a moment. He listened. Then he smiled. It isn't the ocean. It's the wind. The wind is carrying a story. Just then, a white seabird landed upon the lighthouse railing. Around one tiny leg was tied a delicate silver ribbon. Mira carefully untied it. Attached to the ribbon was a tiny folded letter. Its paper smelled faintly of lavender and fresh rain. There was no name, only a single sentence written in beautiful golden ink. When the last flower blooms beneath the moon, the garden of forgotten dreams will awaken once again. Mira looked at Captain Rowan. Have you ever heard of this garden? The old keeper's eyes widened with quiet wonder. My grandmother told me about it when I was very young. They say there is a hidden garden beyond the northern cliffs, a place where forgotten dreams never truly disappear. Instead, they bloom into flowers. Outside, the lighthouse beam suddenly changed. For just a heartbeat, its warm golden light shimmered with soft shades of violet and silver. The white seabird lifted into the sky. Instead of flying toward the sea, it flew inland, toward the towering cliffs beyond the lighthouse. Mira looked up. I think it's asking us to follow. Captain Rowan gently picked up his small brass lantern. Its familiar golden flame flickered peacefully. Then we shouldn't keep the garden waiting. Together, they stepped outside into the cool evening air. The moon hung high above the cliffs. The seabird circled once overhead before disappearing into a narrow forest path hidden between ancient pine trees. The path had never been there before. Tiny glowing flowers lined its edges. Each blossom opened as Mira and Captain Rowan walked past. Their soft light illuminated the forest like hundreds of tiny stars. A gentle fragrance filled the air. Lavender, jasmine, and something sweeter, like memories of happy childhood days. Deep within the quiet forest, a beautiful melody drifted through the trees. It sounded like someone humming a peaceful lullaby. Captain Rowan smiled softly. The garden has awakened, but every magical garden guards its greatest secret. Far ahead, beyond the glowing flowers, an ancient gate covered in climbing roses slowly opened by itself. A warm silver light spilled across the path, and somewhere beyond that gate, a forgotten dream was waiting to bloom. The keeper of moonflowers. The ancient gate opened without a sound. Silver vines slowly curled away from its weathered stone pillars, as if they had been waiting for this very moment. Beyond the gate stretched a winding path of smooth white pebbles. On either side bloomed thousands of flowers unlike any Mira had ever seen. Their petals shimmered with pale blue, soft lavender, and gentle silver light. Yet none of them faced the sun. Instead, every blossom turned toward the moon. Mira whispered, "They're looking at the moon." Captain Rowan smiled. "They're called moonflowers. They bloom only when the night is peaceful." As they walked deeper into the garden, The air became wonderfully still. No wind stirred the trees. No birds called from the branches. Only the soft melody drifted through the flowers. It sounded like someone humming a lullaby remembered from long ago. Suddenly, a warm lantern glowed beneath an ancient willow tree. Beside it sat an elderly woman wearing a long cloak woven with tiny silver flowers. Her white hair flowed gently over her shoulders, and a crown of glowing blossoms rested upon her head. She looked up with kind eyes and smiled. "Welcome. I have been expecting you." Mira looked around in surprise. "You knew we were coming?" The woman nodded gently. The garden always knows when a heart arrives carrying hope. Captain Rowan bowed respectfully. "The keeper of the moonflowers." The woman smiled. "My name is Rowan. I care for every dream that the world has forgotten." She rose slowly and picked a glowing moonflower from the garden. Its silver petals sparkled like drops of morning dew. She placed it gently into Mira's hands. The flower felt warm, almost alive. "What does it do?" Mira asked. Rowan smiled. "Close your eyes." Mira did. The moment she held the flower close, a beautiful vision appeared. She saw a little boy carefully building a tiny wooden boat beside his grandfather. She saw a young girl painting the stars for the very first time. She saw an old musician smiling as children gathered to hear his gentle songs. When Mira opened her eyes, a quiet tear rested upon her cheek. They were so happy. Rowan nodded. Those were forgotten dreams. Not dreams that failed, but dreams that were simply left behind as people grew older. Captain Rowan looked across the glowing garden. "So every flower holds someone's dream?" "Yes," Rowan replied softly. "And every time someone remembers kindness, wonder, or hope, another flower blooms." Just then, one of the oldest moonflowers in the garden slowly began to fade. Its silver glow dimmed. Its petals trembled gently. Mira looked worried. "Why is it fading?" Rowan's gentle smile became thoughtful. "Because somewhere in the world, someone has stopped believing that their dream matters." The entire garden grew quiet. Even the moon seemed to hide behind a passing cloud. Then, from the heart of the garden, a single golden butterfly rose into the air. It circled Mira once, then flew toward a distant glass greenhouse hidden among the trees. Its wings left behind a trail of tiny glowing stars. Rowan watched it disappear and whispered, "The butterfly of hope has awakened. It only flies when one forgotten dream can still be saved." Captain Rowan lifted his lantern. Its golden flame burned a little brighter. He smiled at Mira. "It looks like our journey isn't over yet." Together, they followed the glowing butterfly toward the mysterious greenhouse, where the oldest dream in the garden was quietly waiting to bloom once more. The greenhouse of silent wishes. The golden butterfly drifted gracefully through the moonlit garden. Its tiny wings sparkled like scattered stardust, leaving a trail of shimmering light in the cool night air. Mira, Captain Rowan, and Rowan followed quietly. Soon, the winding path ended before an enormous greenhouse. Its walls were made of crystal-clear glass, glowing softly beneath the full moon. Silver vines wrapped around its elegant frame, blooming with tiny white flowers that opened only at night. Mira gazed through the glass. Inside, thousands of plants filled the greenhouse, but they were unlike any plants she had ever seen. Some bore flowers shaped like tiny stars. Others grew leaves that shimmered like emerald silk. A few released glowing seeds that floated gently through the air like tiny lanterns. Everything inside seemed peaceful, yet strangely quiet. No birds sang, no insects buzzed. Only the gentle sound of breathing leaves could be heard. Eloan placed her hand upon the crystal door. It is called the greenhouse of silent wishes. It protects the dreams that are almost forgotten. The door slowly opened. Warm silver light spilled across the stone floor. As they stepped inside, every flower gently turned toward them. Captain Rowan smiled softly. "They're welcoming us." Eloan nodded. They recognize hearts that bring hope. Near the center of the greenhouse stood a single ancient tree. Unlike the others, it had no flowers. Its branches were bare. Its bark had faded to a pale gray. Only one tiny silver bud remained at the very top. Mira looked up sadly. "Is the tree dying?" Eloan's eyes filled with quiet compassion. "This is the tree of first dreams. It grows from the very first dream every child carries. When people stop believing in kindness, when they abandon wonder, when they forget hope, the tree slowly falls asleep." Captain Rowan gently removed his lantern from his belt. Its golden light reflected across the old bark. There must be a way to help it. Before Eloan could answer, the golden butterfly landed softly upon the tiny silver bud. For a brief moment, the bud glowed warmly. Then, it released a single glowing petal. The petal floated gently into Mira's hands. The moment she touched it, a vision appeared. She saw a little girl sitting beside a rainy window, carefully drawing a beautiful garden filled with flowers, butterflies, and birds. The girl smiled as she whispered, "One day, I'll make the world a little more beautiful." The vision slowly faded. Mira opened her eyes. What happened to her? Eloan smiled gently. She grew older. Life became busy, and she forgot the promise she once made to herself. Mira looked back at the sleeping tree. So this tree remembers the dreams people forget. "Yes," Eloan replied, "but forgotten dreams are never truly lost. They simply wait for someone to believe again." Just then, the tree of first dreams trembled gently. A soft breeze passed through the greenhouse, though every window remained closed. Tiny silver leaves began swirling around the room. Captain Rowan looked toward the highest branch. The last silver bud was slowly beginning to open, but before it could bloom completely, a faint shadow appeared outside the crystal walls. Not dark, not frightening, just quiet, like someone standing alone in the rain. The shadow placed a hand against the glass. Then, in a soft voice that was almost carried away by the wind, it whispered, "Can someone help me remember my dream?" The greenhouse fell silent, and Mira knew their next journey was about to begin. The child who lost a dream. The greenhouse became perfectly still. The soft whisper lingered in the air. "Can someone help me remember my dream?" Mira slowly turned toward the crystal wall. The quiet shadow still stood outside. It wasn't frightening. It looked lonely. Captain Rowan carefully lifted his lantern. Its warm golden light spread gently across the glass. The shadow slowly became clear. It was a young boy. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old. He wore a simple blue coat, and around his neck hung a small wooden whistle tied with a faded string. His eyes were kind, but they carried a sadness that seemed far too old for someone so young. Mira opened the greenhouse door. The boy hesitated. "I don't want to disturb the garden," he said softly. Rowan smiled. "The garden welcomes every gentle heart." The boy stepped inside. The moment his feet touched the stone path, several tiny moonflowers quietly opened beside him. Captain Rowan smiled. "The flowers already know you." The boy looked surprised. "They do. They remember something you have forgotten," Rowan replied. She knelt beside him. "What is your name?" "Elias." "And why have you come here, Elias?" The boy looked down at the little wooden whistle in his hands. "My grandfather made this for me. He used to tell stories every evening. He always said that one day I would travel the world and fill it with beautiful music." A small smile appeared on his face. "But after he was gone, I stopped playing. I thought the dream disappeared with him." The greenhouse grew quiet once again. Even the glowing flowers seemed to bow their heads. Mira stepped closer. She gently placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. "Dreams don't disappear. They wait. They wait until someone is ready to believe in them again." Elias looked at her with hopeful eyes. "Do you really think so?" Before Mira could answer, the tree of first dreams began to shimmer. The single silver bud slowly unfolded. One delicate blossom bloomed at the very top of the ancient tree. Its petals glowed with soft gold and silver light. The tree of tomorrow's dreams. The glowing path wound gently through the heart of the moonlit forest. Tiny flowers lit the way like little stars scattered across the ground. The seed of tomorrow floated quietly before Mira, casting soft rays of gold, silver, and pale blue onto the ancient trees. Captain Rowan walked beside her, his brass lantern glowing with its familiar warmth. Rowan followed close behind, smiling as the garden seemed to awaken with every step they took. Soon, they reached the great tree. It stood in the center of a peaceful clearing beneath the full moon. Its trunk shimmered like polished ivory. Its branches stretched toward the heavens. From every branch hung thousands of crystal buds. None of them had opened. They waited patiently, like dreams that had not yet begun. Mira looked up in wonder. "They're beautiful." Rowan nodded softly. "This is the tree of tomorrow's dreams. It does not hold forgotten dreams. It holds the dreams that are still waiting to be born." Captain Rowan smiled. "So every unopened flower belongs to someone who has not yet discovered their purpose?" "Exactly," Rowan replied. "Every child, every artist, every traveler, every kind soul. Their future dream rests here until the right moment arrives." The seed of tomorrow drifted gently toward the roots of the magnificent tree. It settled into the soft earth. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a warm light spread through the roots. The entire tree glowed from within. Golden streams of light climbed slowly along the trunk, reaching higher and higher until every branch shimmered beneath the moon. One tiny crystal bud trembled. It slowly opened. Inside bloomed a flower unlike any they had ever seen. Its petals changed color with every gentle breeze. Blue, lavender, gold, rose, silver. At its center rested a tiny glowing star. Mira reached toward it. "May I?" Rowan smiled warmly. The tree has already chosen. As Mira gently touched the flower, a peaceful vision surrounded them. She saw children reading stories before bedtime, parents smiling as little ones drifted into peaceful sleep, travelers resting after long journeys. lonely hearts finding comfort through gentle words. Everywhere she looked, stories were bringing calm, hope, and peaceful dreams. When the vision faded, Mira quietly whispered, "So many people, they all needed just a little light." Captain Rowan looked at her proudly. And sometimes, a story becomes that light. The flower released a single glowing petal. Instead of falling, it rose into the night sky. Soon another followed, then another. Within moments, hundreds of glowing petals floated upward like tiny lanterns, filling the heavens with gentle light. The forest seemed to breathe peacefully. Every flower opened, every butterfly danced, every breeze carried the scent of lavender and fresh rain. Then, from somewhere beyond the clearing, a beautiful silver bell rang once. Not loudly, but clearly. Eloan's smile became thoughtful. The bell of dawn. Captain Rowan looked toward the distant hills. "I thought it only rang at sunrise." Eloan slowly shook her head. "It rings whenever a new journey begins." Far beyond the glowing forest, a quiet valley slowly appeared beneath the moonlight. In its center stood a small cottage with a roof of moss and ivy. A single window glowed with warm amber light. Someone was waiting inside, someone whose story had not yet been told. Mira smiled gently. "I think the garden has one more dream to share." The bell of dawn rang once more. Its peaceful echo drifted through the trees, inviting them toward the little cottage where another beautiful chapter was ready to bloom. The cottage of gentle memories. The bell of dawn echoed softly through the moonlit forest. Its peaceful chime drifted between the ancient trees, carried by a cool breeze scented with lavender and pine. Mira looked toward the quiet valley below. The little cottage glowed warmly beneath a canopy of silver stars. Smoke curled gently from its stone chimney. Golden light spilled from a single round window. "It feels," Mira whispered, "like someone is waiting for us." Captain Rowan smiled. "Then we shouldn't keep them waiting." Together, Mira, Captain Rowan, and Eloan followed the flower-lined path into the valley. As they walked, tiny rabbits peeked from beneath the ferns. Fireflies danced above the wildflowers. A family of deer quietly watched from the edge of the forest before disappearing into the trees. The garden itself seemed alive with gentle kindness. When they reached the cottage, they noticed something unusual. Around the small wooden fence bloomed hundreds of white daisies. Yet each flower held a tiny glowing dewdrop that shimmered like a star. Eloan smiled softly. "These are memory blossoms. They bloom wherever love has been freely given." Captain Rowan gently knocked on the old wooden door. Before anyone could answer, the door slowly opened on its own. Inside, the cottage felt warm and peaceful. Shelves filled with old books lined the walls. Bundles of dried lavender hung from the ceiling. A gentle fire crackled inside a stone fireplace. In a comfortable rocking chair sat an elderly woman with kind silver eyes. She was knitting a soft blue blanket that shimmered with tiny silver threads. She looked up and smiled. "I've been expecting you." Mira returned her smile. "How did you know we were coming?" The woman chuckled gently. "The garden always whispers before kind hearts arrive. My name is Grandmother Linnea. I keep the stories that people almost forget." Captain Rowan looked around the room. Every shelf held beautiful glass jars. Some glowed with golden light. Others shimmered with soft blue, green, or lavender colors. "What are they?" he asked. Linnea carefully lifted one small jar from the shelf. Inside floated tiny sparks of light. These are gentle memories, the happiest moments people almost forgot. She handed the jar to Mira. The moment Mira held it, the room quietly disappeared. She found herself standing in a sunny meadow. A little girl laughed as her father lifted her onto his shoulders. Nearby, her mother spread a blanket beneath a blooming apple tree. They shared bread, fresh berries, and warm laughter. The moment lasted only a few seconds, but it felt full of peace. Then the vision gently faded. Mira opened her eyes. That memory felt so real. Linnea nodded. It was. Sometimes people become so busy. They forget the moments that once filled their hearts with joy. Captain Rowan quietly looked into the glowing fireplace. My father used to tell stories every evening. I still remember the sound of his voice. Linnea smiled. And because you remember, that memory still shines. Just then, the little brass lantern Captain Rowan carried began glowing brighter than ever before. Its warm golden light spread across every shelf. One by one, the jars of gentle memories began to sparkle. Tiny lights floated into the air like glowing snowflakes. They circled the cottage peacefully, filling it with warmth. Then, a soft knock echoed at the cottage door. Everyone turned. Standing outside was a young traveler carrying a worn leather backpack. He looked tired, lost, yet hopeful. In his hands, he held an old map with no destination marked upon it. He looked at Mira and quietly asked, "Can you help me find the place where I truly belong?" The cottage fell silent. Mira gently smiled. She had a feeling. Their greatest journey was only just beginning. The map that could only be read by the heart. The cottage grew quiet once again. The young traveler stood in the doorway, his weathered backpack resting against one shoulder. In his hands, he carefully held an old leather map. Its edges were worn by time. Its ink had faded almost completely. Captain Rowan welcomed him inside. "Come in, my friend. The night is cold." The traveler stepped into the warm cottage. "My name is Oliver," he said softly. "I've walked through forests, crossed rivers, and climbed mountains. But I've never found the place I was searching for." Grandmother Linnea poured a cup of warm chamomile tea and placed it before him. "Sometimes," she said gently, "the longest journey isn't across the world. It's within the heart." Oliver looked down at the map. "My grandfather gave me this before he passed away. He said it would one day lead me home. But there are no roads, no towns, no mountains. It's completely blank." Mira leaned closer. The map truly appeared empty. Only a small golden compass was drawn in one corner. Nothing else. "How could anyone follow this?" she asked. Grandmother Linnea smiled knowingly. "It isn't an ordinary map. It is called the map of true belonging. It never shows a destination. It reveals one." Captain Rowan looked at the faded parchment with quiet curiosity. "And how does it do that?" Linnea gently reached for Mira's lantern. Its warm golden flame reflected across the blank page. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, tiny silver lines slowly appeared. They shimmered like moonlight upon calm water. The empty map began filling with gentle paths. Not roads, not rivers, but glowing trails of light. Each one pulsed softly, as though alive. Oliver stared in amazement. "I've never seen that before." Linnea smiled. The map only awakens in the presence of hope. As they watched, one glowing trail became brighter than all the others. It wound through forests, across peaceful valleys, past quiet lakes, until it reached the symbol of a great oak tree standing upon a hill. Beneath the tree appeared 4 simple words: "Where kindness first began." Oliver frowned thoughtfully. "I don't understand. I've never been there." Captain Rowan smiled. "Perhaps you have, just not in the way you're thinking." Before anyone could speak again, the little compass drawn in the corner of the map began to spin, faster and faster, until it suddenly stopped. Its golden needle pointed directly toward Mira. She looked around in surprise. "Me?" Grandmother Linnea nodded. "The map isn't asking you to lead him. It's asking you to walk beside him." Mira smiled warmly at Oliver. "Then we'll find your place together." At that very moment, the cottage windows glowed with soft golden light. Outside, the moonflowers gently swayed. The bell of dawn rang once again, and in the distance, the great oak tree from the map slowly appeared on the horizon, its broad branches sparkling beneath the stars. Something shimmered beneath its roots. It looked like a small wooden door, no taller than a child. Oliver took a deep breath. "I think my journey is finally beginning." Captain Rowan lifted his lantern. Its golden beams stretched across the moonlit path. Together, the 4 travelers stepped out into the peaceful night, following the glowing trail toward the ancient oak, where the first chapter of Oliver's true story was waiting to be discovered. The cottage of gentle memories. The bell of dawn echoed softly through the moonlit forest. Its peaceful chime drifted between the ancient trees, carried by a cool breeze scented with lavender and pine. Mira looked toward the quiet valley below. The little cottage glowed warmly beneath a canopy of silver stars. Smoke curled gently from its stone chimney. Golden light spilled from a single round window. "It feels," Mira whispered, "like someone is waiting for us." Captain Rowan smiled. "Then we shouldn't keep them waiting." Together, Mira, Captain Rowan, and Aloan followed the flower-lined path into the valley. As they walked, tiny rabbits peeked from beneath the ferns. Fireflies danced above the wildflowers. A family of deer quietly watched from the edge of the forest before disappearing into the trees. The garden itself seemed alive with gentle kindness. When they reached the cottage, they noticed something unusual. Around the small wooden fence bloomed hundreds of white daisies. Yet each flower held a tiny glowing dewdrop that shimmered like a star. Aloan smiled softly. "These are memory blossoms. They bloom wherever love has been freely given." Captain Rowan gently knocked on the old wooden door. Before anyone could answer, the door slowly opened on its own. Inside, the cottage felt warm and peaceful. Shelves filled with old books lined the walls. Bundles of dried lavender hung from the ceiling. A gentle fire crackled inside a stone fireplace. In a comfortable rocking chair sat an elderly woman with kind silver eyes. She was knitting a soft blue blanket that shimmered with tiny silver threads. She looked up and smiled. "I've been expecting you." Mira returned her smile. "How did you know we were coming?" The woman chuckled gently. "The garden always whispers before kind hearts arrive. My name is Grandmother Linnea. I keep the stories that people almost forget." Captain Rowan looked around the room. Every shelf held beautiful glass jars. Some glowed with golden light. Others shimmered with soft blue, green, or lavender colors. "What are they?" he asked. Linnea carefully lifted one small jar from the shelf. Inside floated tiny sparks of light. "These are gentle memories. The happiest moments people almost forgot." She handed the jar to Mira. The moment Mira held it, the room quietly disappeared. She found herself standing in a sunny meadow. A little girl laughed as her father lifted her onto his shoulders. Nearby, her mother spread a blanket beneath a blooming apple tree. They shared bread, fresh berries, and warm laughter. The moment lasted only a few seconds, but it felt full of peace. Then the vision gently faded. Mira opened her eyes. That memory felt so real. Linnea nodded. It was. Sometimes people become so busy, they forget the moments that once filled their hearts with joy. Captain Rowan quietly looked into the glowing fireplace. "My father used to tell stories every evening. I still remember the sound of his voice." Linnea smiled. "And because you remember, that memory still shines." Just then, the little brass lantern Captain Rowan carried began glowing brighter than ever before. Its warm golden light spread across every shelf. One by one, the jars of gentle memories began to sparkle. Tiny lights floated into the air like glowing snowflakes. They circled the cottage peacefully, filling it with warmth. Then, a soft knock echoed at the cottage door. Everyone turned. Standing outside was a young traveler carrying a worn leather backpack. He looked tired, lost, yet hopeful. In his hands, he held an old map with no destination marked upon it. He looked at Mira and quietly asked, "Can you help me find the place where I truly belong?" The cottage fell silent. Mira gently smiled. She had a feeling. Their greatest journey was only just beginning. The map that could only be read by the heart. The cottage grew quiet once again. The young traveler stood in the doorway, his weathered backpack resting against one shoulder. In his hands, he carefully held an old leather map. Its edges were worn by time. Its ink had faded almost completely. Captain Rowan welcomed him inside. "Come in, my friend. The night is cold." The traveler stepped into the warm cottage. "My name is Oliver," he said softly. "I've walked through forests, crossed rivers, and climbed mountains, but I've never found the place I was searching for." Grandmother Linnea poured a cup of warm chamomile tea and placed it before him. "Sometimes," she said gently, "the longest journey isn't across the world. It's within the heart." Oliver looked down at the map. "My grandfather gave me this before he passed away. He said it would one day lead me home. But there are no roads, no towns, no mountains. It's completely blank." Mira leaned closer. The map truly appeared empty. Only a small golden compass was drawn in one corner. Nothing else. "How could anyone follow this?" she asked. Grandmother Linnea smiled knowingly. "It isn't an ordinary map. It is called the map of true belonging. It never shows a destination. It reveals one." Captain Rowan looked at the faded parchment with quiet curiosity. "And how does it do that?" Linnea gently reached for Mira's lantern. Its warm golden flame reflected across the blank page. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, tiny silver lines slowly appeared. They shimmered like moonlight upon calm water. The empty map began filling with gentle paths. Not roads, not rivers, but glowing trails of light. Each one pulsed softly, as though alive. Oliver stared in amazement. I've never seen that before. Linnea smiled. The map only awakens in the presence of hope. As they watched, one glowing trail became brighter than all the others. It wound through forests, across peaceful valleys, past quiet lakes, until it reached the symbol of a great oak tree standing upon a hill. Beneath the tree appeared 4 simple words, "Where kindness first began." Oliver frowned thoughtfully. "I don't understand. I've never been there." Captain Rowan smiled. "Perhaps you have, just not in the way you're thinking." Before anyone could speak again, the little compass drawn in the corner of the map began to spin, faster and faster, until it suddenly stopped. Its golden needle pointed directly toward Mira. She looked around in surprise. "Me?" Grandmother Linnea nodded. "The map isn't asking you to lead him. It's asking you to walk beside him." Mira smiled warmly at Oliver. "Then we'll find your place together." At that very moment, the cottage windows glowed with soft golden light. Outside, the moonflowers gently swayed. The bell of dawn rang once again, and in the distance, the great oak tree from the map slowly appeared on the horizon, its broad branches sparkling beneath the stars. Something shimmered beneath its roots. It looked like a small wooden door, no taller than a child. Oliver took a deep breath. "I think my journey is finally beginning." Captain Rowan lifted his lantern. Its golden beams stretched across the moonlit path. Together, the 4 travelers stepped out into the peaceful night, following the glowing trail toward the ancient oak, where the first chapter of Oliver's true story was waiting to be discovered. The little door beneath the great oak. The moonlit path led them quietly across the valley. The map of true belonging floated gently before Oliver, its glowing trail shining brighter with every step. Captain Rowan's lantern cast a warm golden light upon the flowers that lined the path. Mira walked beside Oliver. Neither of them spoke. The peaceful silence felt comforting, as though the garden itself was listening. Soon, the ancient oak tree appeared before them. It was even more magnificent than the map had shown. Its trunk was wider than a small cottage. Its branches stretched high into the night sky, their emerald leaves sparkling with silver moonlight. Tiny stars seemed to rest among the branches. At the base of the great tree stood the little wooden door. It was no taller than Mira's waist. Its smooth wood was carved with delicate patterns of birds, flowers, rivers, and tiny glowing stars. A small brass handle shimmered softly. Oliver looked puzzled. How can such a little door belong to such a giant tree? Grandmother Linnea smiled. Because the greatest journeys often begin with the smallest doors. Mira slowly reached toward the handle. Before her fingers touched it, the little lantern lady Aurora had once given her began glowing warmly. The tiny flame danced inside the glass. The brass handle slowly turned by itself. With a gentle creak, the little door opened. A warm golden breeze drifted out. It carried the sweet fragrance of fresh bread, wildflowers, and morning rain. Beyond the doorway was no dark tunnel. Instead, a beautiful staircase of polished roots spiraled gently downward. Every step glowed with soft amber light. Captain Rowan smiled. "It looks like the tree is inviting us." Together, they descended beneath the ancient oak. The deeper they walked, the warmer the light became. Soon the staircase opened into a breathtaking underground chamber. The walls shimmered with smooth crystal roots. Tiny streams of clear water flowed quietly between beds of glowing moss. Countless fireflies floated lazily through the air, turning the chamber into a peaceful sea of tiny stars. At the center of the chamber stood a round wooden table. Upon it rested a single closed book. Its cover was deep emerald green. Golden vines curled across its surface. At its center shone a silver acorn. Oliver slowly stepped closer. The book. It feels familiar. Grandmother Linnea nodded. It is. This is the Book of Beginnings. It remembers the very first act of kindness every heart has ever given. Oliver looked surprised. My first act of kindness. Captain Rowan smiled gently. Every light begins somewhere. Mira carefully opened the book. The pages turned by themselves, one after another, until they stopped. A beautiful illustration slowly appeared. It showed a little boy kneeling beside an injured robin beneath a rainy sky. He carefully wrapped the tiny bird in his scarf and carried it safely home. Oliver gasped. I remember. I was only 6. I thought no one knew. Grandmother Linnea smiled warmly. The tree remembered. The garden remembered. And most importantly, so did your heart. As Oliver gently placed his hand upon the page, the silver acorn upon the cover began to glow. It slowly floated into the air. Golden roots beneath the chamber awakened. The ancient oak above them shimmered with new life. Thousands of crystal leaves burst into bloom all at once. The moonlit valley outside filled with gentle golden light. Then, a deep, peaceful voice echoed through the roots. Every dream begins with one kind choice. The chamber became wonderfully still. Suddenly, another page of the book turned by itself. This time, it was completely blank. Only one sentence appeared in glowing golden letters. The next story has not yet been written. Mira smiled. She looked at Oliver, Captain Rowan, and Grandmother Linnea. Then she softly whispered, Perhaps we are about to write it together. Far beyond the great oak, a single shooting star crossed the night sky. Its silver trail pointed toward a distant mountain where a lonely bell tower stood waiting beneath the moon. Somewhere within that quiet tower, another forgotten dream was beginning to awaken. The bell tower that remembered every song. The shooting star disappeared beyond the distant mountains. For a long moment, no one spoke. Its silver trail lingered across the night sky, pointing toward the lonely bell tower standing high upon a peaceful hill. Mira gently closed the Book of Beginnings. The emerald cover shimmered one last time before the ancient oak roots slowly carried it back beneath the crystal floor. Captain Rowan looked toward the mountain. The garden is calling us again. Grandmother Linnea smiled. Not the garden. The bell. It has remained silent for many years. Oliver carefully folded the map of true belonging. Something had changed. The map was no longer blank. A new glowing path had appeared. It climbed gently toward the mountain where the old bell tower waited beneath the moonlight. Together, the 4 travelers followed the winding trail. The forest gradually gave way to rolling green hills. Wild lavender swayed softly in the cool breeze. Tiny glowing butterflies floated between the flowers, lighting the path like drifting stars. As dawn slowly approached, the sky turned shades of violet, rose, and pale gold. Soon, they reached the hilltop. The bell tower stood quietly before them. It was built of smooth white stone covered with climbing ivy. Its tall windows reflected the fading stars. Yet something felt different. There was no bell ringing, no birds nesting among its roof, only peaceful silence. Mira gently touched the weathered wooden door. It opened without a sound. Inside, a spiral staircase circled upward toward the tower's highest room. Every step was carved with tiny musical notes. Captain Rowan ran his fingers across the ancient carvings. "I've never seen anything like this." Grandmother Linnea smiled softly. "This is the bell tower of gentle songs. Every joyful melody ever sung with love lives here forever." They slowly climbed the winding steps. At its far end stood a magnificent castle made entirely of white clouds and morning light. Captain Rowan smiled with quiet wonder. "I believe our next destination has just found us." The castle above the morning clouds. The rainbow bridge shimmered gently beneath the morning sun. Its colors reflected across the sky like a peaceful river of light. Captain Rowan, Mira, Oliver, and Grandmother Linnea stood quietly at its beginning. No one hurried. Some journeys were meant to be walked slowly. Mira looked over the edge of the bridge. Soft white clouds floated beneath her feet. Far below, the Garden of Forgotten Dreams had become a beautiful patchwork of silver flowers, emerald trees, and sparkling streams. "It looks so peaceful," she whispered. Captain Rowan smiled. "Every place looks smaller once you've learned its lesson." Together, they stepped onto the bridge. With every footstep, tiny stars of light appeared beneath them before gently fading away. The air smelled of fresh rain and blooming jasmine. A gentle breeze carried the distant laughter of children. Oliver listened carefully. "Do you hear that?" Grandmother Linnea nodded. "The castle remembers every joyful laugh that hope has ever created." At last, they reached the end of the bridge. Before them stood a breathtaking castle unlike any they had ever imagined. Its towers were carved from white crystal that glowed with the colors of dawn. Its windows shimmered like calm lakes. Golden ivy climbed gracefully along its walls, blooming with tiny blue flowers that sparkled in the sunlight. The great gates slowly opened by themselves. No guards stood watch. No voices called out. Only warmth welcomed them. Inside stretched a magnificent courtyard filled with fountains of clear water. Instead of falling downward, the water floated gently upward into the sky before becoming tiny glowing clouds. Mira laughed softly. "I've never seen water flow upward." A familiar voice answered. "In this place, hope always rises." From beneath an ancient archway stepped a tall gentleman dressed in robes of ivory and gold. His silver hair rested neatly upon his shoulders. Around his neck hung a small key shaped like a blooming flower. His eyes were gentle and full of wisdom. He bowed respectfully. "Welcome. I am Keeper Alaric. I watch over the castle of new beginnings." Captain Rowan returned the bow. "It is an honor to meet you." Alaric smiled warmly. "The honor belongs to those who carry light into the lives of others." He looked toward Oliver. Captain Rowan smiled gently. "It seems the journey still has another chapter waiting. The path beyond the flower of tomorrow." The crystal flower glowed with a gentle golden light. Its first petal had opened. The others remained closed, shimmering softly as if they were waiting for the right moment. A peaceful silence filled the highest chamber of the castle of new beginnings. Oliver looked at the little wooden whistle resting beneath the flower. "It feels strange," he whispered. "I gave something away, but my heart feels fuller." Keeper Alaric smiled warmly. "That is the secret of kindness. The more you share, the brighter your own light becomes." Captain Rowan nodded. "My father once told me that a lighthouse never loses its light by guiding another ship." Mira smiled. "Perhaps dreams are the same." Just then, the crystal flower released a tiny drop of light. It floated gently through the air before settling into Mira's lantern. The golden flame inside changed once again. Now it shimmered with soft colors of sunrise: gold, lavender, rose, and pale blue. Alaric bowed his head respectfully. The lantern of hope has accepted another blessing. Outside the great circular window, the clouds slowly drifted apart. A narrow path of glowing white stones appeared across the sky. It stretched toward a distant valley hidden above the clouds. At its center stood a quiet lake, perfectly still like polished glass. Upon the surface of the lake floated thousands of white lotus flowers. Each blossom reflected not the sky, but memories. Mira gazed at the beautiful valley. "It looks like the whole world is sleeping peacefully." Alaric nodded. "It is called the Lake of Quiet Hearts. Every peaceful dream finds its reflection there." Grandmother Linnea looked thoughtfully toward the shining water. "I haven't seen the lake for many years. It only appears when someone is ready for the final lesson." Captain Rowan turned to her. "The final lesson?" She smiled gently. "Every journey teaches us how to help others. But the last lesson teaches us how to bring peace to ourselves." The travelers stepped onto the glowing path. With each step, tiny stars blossomed beneath their feet before fading gently into the clouds. When they reached the shore of the lake, they found no boats, no bridges, only a single white lotus floating near the water's edge. Its petals slowly opened. Inside rested a tiny crystal key. Oliver carefully picked it up. The moment his fingers touched the key, the surface of the lake rippled softly. From the center of the water rose a graceful pavilion made entirely of crystal. Its delicate roof sparkled beneath the morning sun. At its entrance stood an elderly musician dressed in flowing blue robes. His silver harp rested beside him. He smiled as though he had been expecting them all along. "Welcome, travelers. My name is Maestro Caelum. I have waited a long time for those who carry the light of hope." He gently touched the strings of his harp. A single peaceful note floated across the lake. Instantly, every white lotus bloomed at once. Their reflections turned into tiny stars upon the water. The lake itself began to sing, not with words, but with a melody so gentle that every worry seemed to drift away. Mira closed her eyes. For the first time since their journey began, she felt complete peace. Yet as the final note faded into the morning breeze, one lotus at the far end of the lake remained closed. Its petals trembled gently. Maestro Caelum looked toward it with quiet concern. There is still one heart that has not yet found its dream. The little crystal key in Oliver's hand began to glow brighter. It pointed toward the unopened lotus. A new story, and one final act of kindness, was waiting just beyond the peaceful waters. The lotus that waited for one last dream. The morning sunlight danced gently across the lake of quiet hearts. thousands of white lotus flowers floated peacefully upon the crystal-clear water. Each blossom reflected a beautiful memory. Each ripple carried a quiet melody. Only one lotus remained closed. It rested alone near the center of the lake. Its silver petals trembled softly, as though it were waiting for someone. Oliver held the tiny crystal key. The key glowed warmly in his hand. Without anyone speaking, it slowly lifted into the air. Like a falling feather, it drifted across the lake. Mira, Captain Rowan, Grandmother Linnea, and Maestro Caelum followed it along a narrow path of glowing lily pads that appeared upon the water. Each step felt light, almost as though the lake itself was carrying them. When they reached the unopened lotus, the crystal key stopped. It hovered above the flower. Then, it slowly disappeared into its center. For one peaceful heartbeat, everything became still. The wind rested. The birds grew silent. Even the gentle ripples upon the lake paused. Then, the lotus slowly began to bloom. Its silver petals unfolded one by one. Inside rested a tiny crystal cradle. Curled peacefully within it slept a little girl no older than 7. She wore a pale blue dress embroidered with tiny golden stars. In her hands, she held a small paintbrush. Yet there were no colors, no canvas, only silence. Mira knelt beside the flower. Who is she? Maestro Caelum smiled gently. Her name is Lyra. She is the child of unpainted dreams. Captain Rowan looked puzzled. Unpainted dreams. The old musician nodded. Long ago, she dreamed of filling the world with beauty. But she grew afraid that she wasn't good enough. So she laid her dream to rest. And the lotus waited. Myra's heart grew heavy. She gently reached toward Lyra's tiny hand. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to begin. At that moment, the lantern of hope hanging from Myra's hand glowed brighter than ever before. A warm beam of golden light touched the little paintbrush. Instantly, colors burst into the air. Soft blues, golden sunlight, emerald forests, lavender skies, rose-colored clouds. The empty air became a living painting. Birds soared through brilliant sunsets. Wildflowers bloomed across endless meadows. Gentle rivers sparkled beneath moonlit bridges. The entire lake reflected those beautiful colors. Lyra slowly opened her eyes. She looked around in wonder. I remembered. A joyful smile spread across her face. She lifted her little paintbrush. With one gentle stroke across the sky, a magnificent rainbow appeared above the lake of quiet hearts. Every lotus flower shimmered with new light. Grandmother Linnea quietly wiped away a tear. A forgotten dream has found its way home. Maestro Caelum gently played his silver harp. This time, the melody was brighter, full of quiet celebration. As the final note echoed across the water, the rainbow slowly transformed into a glowing archway of light. Beyond it lay a peaceful meadow filled with countless blooming flowers stretching to the horizon. At the very center stood a single white gazebo surrounded by thousands of glowing butterflies. Captain Rowan smiled softly. I believe we've reached the garden's final secret. Mira held her lantern close to her heart. Its gentle flame flickered peacefully. Together, the travelers stepped toward the radiant archway, ready to discover the last lesson hidden within the garden where forgotten dreams bloomed. The gazebo where every dream was shared. The radiant archway shimmered with every color of the rainbow. As Mira stepped through, she felt a gentle warmth surround her, like the comforting embrace of an old friend. Captain Rowan, Oliver, Grandmother Linnea, and Maestro Caelum followed close behind. Beyond the archway stretched the most beautiful meadow they had ever seen. Endless fields of wildflowers danced in the soft morning breeze. Golden sunflowers turned toward the rising sun. Lavender blossoms painted the hills with shades of violet. White lilies sparkled with tiny drops of dew that looked like little diamonds. Above them, hundreds of glowing butterflies floated peacefully through the air. At the center of the meadow stood the white gazebo. Its graceful pillars were carved from smooth marble, wrapped with blooming roses and jasmine vines. The crystal roof reflected the morning sky, filling the entire garden with gentle light. "It feels," Mira whispered, "as though the whole garden is smiling." Grandmother Linnea nodded. "This is the gazebo of shared dreams. A dream grows stronger when it is shared with kindness." As they stepped inside, they discovered a round crystal table. Upon it rested a beautiful silver bowl filled with tiny glowing seeds. Each seed shone with its own unique color. Some glowed blue like the sea, others golden like the morning sun. Some shimmered in soft lavender or emerald green. Oliver reached toward one. "What are these?" Maestro Caelum smiled. "They are seeds of tomorrow. Each one is born when someone encourages another person to believe in themselves." Captain Rowan gently picked up a golden seed. It immediately began to glow. A peaceful vision appeared above the table. He saw himself many years ago as a young lighthouse keeper, helping a frightened sailor safely into the harbor during a terrible storm. The sailor had smiled and said, "Because of your light, I never gave up." The vision slowly faded. Captain Rowan lowered his eyes with a humble smile. "I had forgotten those words." Grandmother Linnea looked at him kindly. "The garden never forgets." Mira carefully picked up a soft blue seed. At once, another vision blossomed into the air. She saw Lyra joyfully painting children laughing beneath colorful skies. She saw Oliver playing his wooden whistle for travelers resting beneath the ancient oak. She saw Elias filling the forest with peaceful music once again. Every act of kindness had inspired another. The little blue seed glowed brighter. Then, it gently floated upward. Soon another seed followed, then another. Within moments, every glowing seed rose into the morning sky. They drifted across the meadow like tiny lanterns carried by the wind. Wherever a seed touched the earth, a new flower instantly bloomed. The entire valley became even more beautiful. Maestro Caelum quietly played his silver harp. The butterflies danced around the floating seeds. Birds joined the melody from the surrounding trees. The whole meadow seemed alive with joy. Then, a soft breeze carried a familiar whisper through the flowers. It wasn't frightening. It wasn't mysterious. It was peaceful. Every dream you help grow becomes a light for someone else. Mira looked toward the distant horizon. Far beyond the meadow, a magnificent tree of pure crystal slowly appeared. Its branches reached into the clouds. From every branch hung thousands of glowing lanterns. Each lantern carried the light of a dream that had come true. Grandmother Linnea smiled with quiet wonder. The tree of endless dawn. Captain Rowan's eyes sparkled. "I've heard stories about it all my life." but I never imagined I would see it. As the great crystal tree shimmered beneath the morning sun, one lantern gently detached from its highest branch. It floated slowly toward Mira. Inside its warm golden light rested a tiny folded letter. Across the front, written in elegant silver ink, were 4 simple words. For the next dreamer. Mira carefully held the glowing lantern. She smiled. I think the garden has one final gift to share. The letter for the next dreamer. The glowing lantern floated gently into Mira's hands. Its warm golden light shimmered like the first rays of dawn upon a peaceful sea. Inside rested the tiny folded letter. No one spoke. Even the butterflies seemed to pause in the air. Captain Rowan smiled softly. I think the letter has been waiting for you. Mira carefully unfolded the delicate paper. Its edges sparkled with silver light. The handwriting was elegant, flowing gently across the page. It read, Dear Dreamer, if this letter has found you, it means you have already learned the greatest secret of every journey. Dreams are not treasures to keep. They are lights meant to be shared. Whenever you comfort a frightened heart, whenever you offer hope to someone who has forgotten it, whenever you tell a gentle story that brings peaceful sleep, another flower blooms somewhere in this garden. The garden of forgotten dreams will never truly disappear because it lives inside every act of kindness. Now it is your turn to become a keeper of gentle dreams. The first gardener. As Mira finished reading, a peaceful breeze swept across the meadow. The tree of endless dawn glowed brighter than ever before. Thousands of lanterns hanging from its crystal branches slowly began to shine together. The valley was filled with warm golden light. Oliver looked up in amazement. It looks like a sky full of little suns. Maestro Caelum gently smiled. Each lantern belongs to someone who chose hope over fear. Grandmother Linnea stepped toward the great crystal tree. She placed her hand upon its shining trunk. Immediately, the bark shimmered like clear glass. Slowly, beautiful images appeared inside it. A young teacher helping a child learn to read. A sailor rescuing a stranger during a storm. A grandmother telling bedtime stories beside a warm fireplace. A doctor comforting a frightened patient. A little girl sharing her only flower with a lonely friend. Captain Rowan quietly whispered, So many ordinary people. Maestro Caelum nodded. There are no ordinary acts of kindness. They all become part of the garden. Just then, the lantern in Mira's hands gently opened. Instead of a flame, a single glowing white butterfly rose into the morning air. It circled each traveler once. Captain Rowan, Oliver, Grandmother Linnea, Maestro Caelum. Then it returned to Mira. The butterfly landed softly upon her shoulder before disappearing into countless tiny stars. The golden gate of homecoming. The first rays of sunrise spread gently across the meadow. Every flower glistened with morning dew. The golden gate stood quietly at the edge of the valley, its graceful arches woven with blooming roses, jasmine, and ivy that sparkled like tiny stars. No walls surrounded it. Only the gate itself stood beneath the endless sky. Beyond it shimmered a peaceful path bathed in soft golden light. Mira carefully held the everbloom flower close to her heart. Its gentle glow pulsed with every heartbeat, filling the morning air with warmth. Captain Rowan looked toward the gate with a peaceful smile. I believe this is where every journey learns its final lesson. Oliver folded the map of True Belonging one last time. The glowing paths upon its surface slowly faded, until only one sentence remained. Home is where hope is shared. Oliver smiled. I spent years searching for a place, but all along, I was searching for the person I was meant to become. Grandmother Linnea placed a gentle hand upon his shoulder. And now you found him. Nearby, Maestro Caelum softly played his silver harp. The melody drifted through the valley like a lullaby carried by the wind. As the music echoed across the flowers, the golden gates slowly opened, not with the sound of heavy doors, but with the gentle whisper of leaves dancing in a spring breeze. A warm light welcomed them forward. The travelers stepped through together. The moment they crossed the gate, the world around them transformed. They no longer stood inside the magical valley. Instead, they found themselves upon a peaceful hill overlooking familiar places. The ancient oak swayed gently in the distance. The bell tower gleamed beneath the morning sun. The castle of new beginnings floated quietly among the clouds. The lake of quiet hearts shimmered like polished crystal. Every place they had visited remained connected, forming one beautiful world filled with kindness and hope. Mira turned toward her friends. So the garden was never one place. Grandmother Linnea nodded with a gentle smile. It was always many places, and every place was connected by love. Captain Rowan lifted his lantern. The golden flame burned brighter than ever before. Then, with quiet grace, he placed it into Mira's hands. I carried this lantern for many years. It helped countless travelers find their way. He smiled kindly. Now, it belongs with you. Mira looked at the lantern in surprise. I don't know if I'm ready. Captain Rowan chuckled softly. No one ever feels ready. The light doesn't choose the perfect keeper. It chooses the willing heart. As Mira accepted the lantern, its flame blended with the light of the ever-bloom flower. Together, they became a single, peaceful glow. At that very moment, tiny golden butterflies rose from every flower in the valley. They circled high above the travelers before drifting toward the horizon, carrying little sparks of light into the waking world. Maestro Caelum watched them disappear into the morning sky. They will become quiet moments of hope, a comforting word, a gentle smile, a peaceful bedtime story, small gifts that help hearts rest. Suddenly, one final path of shimmering petals appeared beyond the hill. It led toward a little white cottage nestled beside a calm river. Smoke curled gently from its chimney. Its windows glowed with warm amber light. Mira looked at the cottage. It feels familiar. Grandmother Linnea smiled knowingly. It is. It is where every guardian begins. The breeze carried the sweet scent of lavender through the air. The little cottage door slowly opened, as though someone inside had been waiting for them all along. Where every gentle story begins, the little white cottage stood peacefully beside the quiet river. Morning sunlight shimmered across the water, where white swans glided silently between clusters of blooming lilies. The cottage door remained open. Warm golden light spilled gently onto the flower-covered path. Mira took a slow breath. For some reason, it felt as though she had been here before. Captain Rowan smiled softly. Every guardian eventually finds this place. Together, they stepped inside. The cottage was simple. A wooden table stood beside a wide window overlooking the river. Shelves filled with well-loved books lined the walls. Fresh lavender hung from the ceiling, filling the room with its calming fragrance. Near the fireplace rested an old rocking chair. Beside it stood a beautiful writing desk made from polished oak. Upon the desk lay a single blank journal. Its cover was woven with silver threads that sparkled in the morning light. Across the front, elegant golden letters slowly appeared. The Book of Gentle Stories. Mira carefully touched its cover. The journal opened by itself. Its pages were completely empty. She looked toward grandmother Linnea. But there's nothing written. Linnea smiled kindly. That's because it belongs to the future. The stories inside have not yet been told. Maestro Caelum rested his silver harp beside the fireplace. Every peaceful story, every bedtime whisper, every dream that comforts a weary heart will one day find its place inside these pages. Oliver stepped toward the window. Children's laughter drifted softly from somewhere beyond the river. He smiled. I used to think adventures were about discovering magical places. Captain Rowan joined him. And now, Oliver looked toward the endless horizon. Now I know. The greatest adventure is helping someone else find hope. Outside, the everbloom flower in Mira's hands released one final glowing petal. It floated through the open window, across the meadow, over the quiet river, into the bright blue sky, where it became a tiny new star shining even in daylight. At that very moment, the garden of forgotten dreams awakened completely. The great oak whispered gently in the breeze. The bell tower rang one peaceful note. The lake of quiet hearts shimmered like liquid crystal. The castle of new beginnings glowed above the clouds. Every place they had visited answered with quiet joy. Mira sat at the writing desk. She picked up the old fountain pen resting beside the journal. For a moment, she simply listened to the birds singing outside, to the river flowing gently past the cottage, to the comforting silence that wrapped around the morning. Then, she wrote the very first sentence. Once, beneath a sky filled with gentle stars, there was a garden where forgotten dreams learned to bloom again. As the ink touched the page, golden light spread through the entire journal. One by one, the empty pages began filling themselves with beautiful stories. Stories of courage, stories of kindness, stories of hope, stories that would one day help countless hearts find peaceful sleep. Grandmother Linnea quietly closed her eyes. The garden has found its new storyteller. Captain Rowan placed his hand over his heart and bowed with quiet gratitude. You will keep the light alive. Maestro Caelum played one final lullaby on his silver harp. The melody drifted through the open windows, across the river, into the forest, and far beyond the mountains. Wherever the music traveled, children smiled peacefully in their dreams. Tired travelers found the strength to keep walking. Lonely hearts felt a little less alone. And somewhere, a single forgotten dream opened its eyes once more. The sun climbed higher into the morning sky. The butterflies danced above the wildflowers. The river carried its gentle song toward the sea. And the little white cottage became known as a place where every new bedtime story quietly began. For in the end, the greatest magic had never been hidden in enchanted flowers, or crystal castles, or ancient lanterns. It had always lived inside a gentle heart willing to share hope with others. And so, Whenever the stars appear above a quiet night, and the wind whispers softly through the trees, some say the garden of forgotten dreams still blooms, waiting patiently for the next dreamer to open the book of gentle stories. Thank you for visiting Golden Haven. Sleep peacefully, and we'll meet again in the next gentle story.